Stop scrolling. Look at your screen. I'm about to show you 4 animals, not random creatures, strategic archetypes that Machiavelli embedded into the prince as coded warnings about human nature. Each animal represents a different survival strategy, a different method of hunting, a different approach to dominance when everything is on the line. Animal 1. The lion. Powerful, visible, ruling through intimidating strength and undeniable presence. Animal 2. The fox. Cunning, adaptive, surviving through intelligence and strategic deception. Animal 3. The wolf. Pack-oriented, loyal to the group, dominating through coordinated collective action. Animal 4. The serpent. Patient, hidden, striking only when the target is vulnerable and unaware. Choose one animal. Right now. Don't think about which seems most noble or impressive. Your instinct is revealing your natural hunting strategy, your survival pattern, your method of eliminating threats. Comment your choice. 1, 2, 3, or 4. Do it before I decode what it means, because what I'm about to reveal will expose the strategic nature you've been hiding from yourself and broadcasting to your enemies. In year 1513, Niccolò Machiavelli wrote the most famous passage in The Prince. Chapter 18. The chapter everyone remembers but few truly understand. A prince must know how to use both the nature of the beast and that of man. Therefore, he must understand how to make use of both natures, and that the one without the other is not lasting. Most readers stop there. They think Machiavelli is speaking metaphorically, telling princes to be both civilized and brutal when necessary. But Machiavelli wasn't speaking in metaphors. He was identifying actual animal archetypes, specific survival strategies that humans instinctively embody when fighting for power. The passage continues. Therefore, it is necessary for a prince to know well how to use the beast, and he should choose the fox and the lion, because the lion cannot defend himself against snares, and the fox cannot defend himself against wolves. Fox, lion, wolf, serpent, 4 animals, 4 survival strategies, 4 fatal weaknesses. Machiavelli spent his career observing how different leaders approached conflict, how they hunted, how they defended, how they survived when every other player wanted them dead. And he realized that every effective strategist instinctively operated like one of these 4 animals, not consciously, not deliberately, but naturally. The way predators hunt according to their species. You chose your animal at the beginning of this video. That choice revealed which beast archetype controls your strategic behavior. Today, I'm decoding Machiavelli's animal system. Comment your animal choice now. Because once you understand which beast you are, you'll see why certain strategies feel natural, and why certain enemies always seem to counter you. Let me take you to Imola, year 1502. Machiavelli was sent as Florence's diplomatic envoy to meet Cesare Borgia, the most feared commander in Italy. The man conquers Romagna through a combination of military brilliance and ruthless political manipulation. Machiavelli spent weeks observing Borgia, watching how he made decisions, how he dealt with allies and enemies, how he responded to threats and opportunities. And Machiavelli noticed something extraordinary. Borgia didn't use one strategy. He shifted between animal archetypes depending on the situation. When Borgia needed to intimidate rivals, he became the lion. Visible displays of military power, public executions, demonstrations of overwhelming force that made resistance seem suicidal. When Borgia needed to neutralize conspiracies, he became the fox. Deceptive negotiations, false alliances, strategic lies that turned enemies against each other before they could unite against him. When Borgia needed to consolidate territory, he became the wolf, building loyal military units, creating administrative structures where every member protected every other member. Pack loyalty enforced through mutual dependence. When Borgia needed to eliminate specific threats, he became the Serpent. Patient surveillance, waiting for the perfect moment, striking when targets were isolated and vulnerable. But Machiavelli also noticed Borgia's primary instinct, his default archetype when he didn't have time to calculate strategy. Borgia was fundamentally a serpent, patient, hidden, willing to wait months for the perfect strike rather than attacking immediately. This is what Machiavelli documented in Chapter 7 of The Prince, the famous case study of how Borgia hired Ramiro de Orco to pacify the Romagna through terror, and then had Ramiro executed in the public square to redirect the people's hatred. Serpent strategy. Wait. Observe. Let your weapon do the work. Then eliminate the weapon itself to remove all evidence of your involvement. But here's what Machiavelli discovered that changed political philosophy forever. Your primary animal archetype determines your vulnerability. Borgia's serpent nature made him dependent on timing. When his father, Pope Alexander VI, died unexpectedly and Borgia was too sick with fever to act quickly, his patient strategy became a fatal weakness. Serpents need time to position themselves. Borgia didn't have time. Within months, he lost everything. Not because he was incompetent, but because his animal archetype had a predator, and that predator struck when Borgia's timing advantage disappeared. 400 years later, military strategists would describe these patterns as fighting styles or strategic preferences. But Machiavelli understood them as evolutionary survival strategies. Animals don't choose how they hunt. They're built to hunt in specific ways based on their physical capabilities and environmental adaptations. Humans are the same, not physically, but strategically. Your subconscious has evolved a survival strategy optimized for your capabilities, your environment, your psychological wiring. You are the lion, the fox, the wolf, or the serpent, not metaphorically, strategically, behaviorally. And you chose your animal instinctively at the start of this video because you recognized your own hunting pattern. Now let me decode what that means. We'll analyze each animal, each survival strategy, each hunting method, each fatal predator. If you chose Animal 1, focus on the first section. If you chose 2, 3, or 4, watch all of them. Because understanding all 4 beasts means you can identify which animal your enemies are and how to hunt them. Let's begin with the first archetype. Animal 1, the lion. If you chose the lion, you hunt through intimidation. You don't hide your capabilities. You don't deceive your targets. You don't coordinate with packs. You roar. Your instinct when facing threats is to demonstrate overwhelming power so decisively that enemies surrender before the fight begins. This isn't aggression, it's strategic psychology. Because humans, like most animals, assess threats through visible displays. When someone radiates dominance through size, strength, or demonstrated capability, our instincts tell us to submit rather than fight. Machiavelli wrote about lion strategy explicitly in Chapter 18. The lion cannot defend himself against snares, and the fox cannot defend himself against wolves. Therefore, it is necessary to be a fox to discover the snares, and a lion to terrify the wolves. Translation: the lion's power is intimidation. The lion's weakness is traps. Lions don't sneak. Lions don't deceive. Lions announce their presence and dare anything to challenge them. Julius Caesar was a lion. When Caesar crossed the Rubicon in 49 BC with his legion, he didn't do it quietly. He didn't disguise his intentions. He didn't build alliances first. He marched straight toward Rome with his army visible to everyone, and he sent a clear message. I am coming. I am powerful. Oppose me and die. It worked. Most of Pompey's forces deserted without fighting. Cities opened their gates. The Senate fled. Caesar conquered Italy in 60 days through pure intimidation. The lion strategy at its peak. But here's what makes lions vulnerable. They're predictable. Lions attack from the front. Lions use direct force. Lions don't hide their intentions or their movements, which means lions can be trapped by enemies who refuse to fight them directly. Vercingetorix, the Gallic chieftain who led the rebellion against Caesar in 52 BC, understood this. He didn't meet Caesar in open battle. He burned the countryside. He avoided direct confrontation. He set traps. And at Gergovia, Caesar walked into one of those traps. His direct assault failed. He lost nearly 1,000 soldiers, one of his worst defeats. The lion's instinct to attack directly became a vulnerability when the enemy refused to fight like prey. In modern terms, you're the executive who makes bold declarations and expects compliance. The leader who demonstrates capability so overwhelmingly that questioning your authority seems absurd. The competitor who announces their strategy publicly and dares rivals to respond. You maintain dominance through visible strength. As long as you appear more powerful than threats, you don't have to fight. Your reputation does the work. Your strength is psychological warfare. Lion strategists win battles before they start because enemies choose submission over confrontation. But here's the fatal flaw Machiavelli identified in the lion archetype. Visible power attracts invisible traps. Julius Caesar conquered Gaul, defeated Pompey, and became dictator of Rome. The most powerful man in the known world. The lion at the peak of dominance. And on March 15, 44 BC, 23 senators surrounded him in the theater of Pompey with hidden daggers. Caesar never saw the snare, because lions don't look for snares. They look for direct threats. And by the time Caesar realized he was trapped, it was too late. Napoleon Bonaparte made the same mistake. Napoleon was a lion commander. He dominated Europe through overwhelming military force. He crushed coalitions. He conquered nations. He made kings surrender through sheer intimidation. But Russia refused to fight him directly. They burned their own cities. They retreated into winter. They set a trap spanning thousands of miles, and Napoleon, unable to resist the instinct to pursue, marched his Grande Armée into the snare. 600,000 men entered Russia. Fewer than 100,000 returned. The lion destroyed by a trap he couldn't resist walking into. If you are a lion, your survival depends on learning fox awareness. You cannot abandon intimidation. That's your core strength. But you must develop the ability to see snares before you walk into them. The most dangerous lions are the ones who roar publicly while maintaining fox intelligence privately. They intimidate openly, but they verify everything before they commit. Machiavelli's advice for lion strategists appears in Chapter 18. Those who simply act like lions are stupid. Translation: pure lion strategy is suicide. Intimidation without intelligence equals walking into every trap your enemies set. Be the lion when facing direct threats, but be the fox when enemies refuse to fight you directly. If you chose Animal 1, if you instinctively gravitated toward intimidation, toward visible power, toward making enemies surrender through demonstrated dominance, then comment below. I am the lion. Claim your beast. Because understanding that you hunt through intimidation means you can develop fox awareness before the snare closes. Animal 2. The fox. If you chose the fox, you hunt through deception. You don't intimidate. You don't fight directly. You don't rely on pack coordination. You deceive. Your instinct when facing threats is to manipulate the environment, the information, the perception, anything except the direct confrontation itself. This is the strategy of intelligence over strength, adaptation over consistency, survival through being impossible to pin down. Machiavelli wrote more about fox strategy than any other animal archetype because he considered it the most essential for political survival. In chapter 18, after describing the lion's weakness, therefore it is necessary to be a fox to discover the snares and a lion to terrify the wolves. But then, critically, those who rely simply on the lion do not understand this. Translation: fox strategy is not secondary to lion strategy, it's primary, because avoiding traps matters more than winning confrontations. You can lose every direct battle and still survive if you never get trapped, but you can win every direct battle and still die if you walk into one snare. Cosimo de' Medici was a fox. When Cosimo's enemies, the Albizzi family, tried to remove him from Florence in 1433, they didn't assassinate him. They put him on trial for tyranny. If Cosimo had been a lion, he would have fought back directly, mobilized his supporters, created a confrontation. Instead, Cosimo became the fox. He appeared completely cooperative during the trial. He admitted to nothing, but also defended nothing. He seemed confused by the charges. He played weak. The Albizzi convinced the Signoria to exile Cosimo for 10 years. Not execution, just exile. Because Cosimo seemed harmless, just a banker, not a threat. Within 1 year, Florence's economy collapsed without Cosimo's banking network. The Albizzi government fell apart, and the same Signoria that exiled Cosimo begged him to return. Fox strategy. Appear weak when you're strong. Appear harmless when you're dangerous. Let enemies trap themselves while you pretend to be trapped. Cosimo ruled Florence for the next 30 years, never as an official leader, never with a title, just as Cosimo, the fox who survived by never looking like a threat. In modern terms, you're the executive who never takes credit, but shapes every outcome. The negotiator who appears to give concessions while getting everything you wanted. The strategist who makes enemies think they won while you actually control the result. You maintain power through perception management. What people think is happening matters more than what's actually happening. Your strength is adaptability. Fox strategists cannot be defeated by single strategies because they shift faster than enemies can adjust. But here's the fatal flaw Machiavelli identified in the fox archetype. Deception requires constant intelligence and constant adaptation. The moment you stop adjusting, you become predictable, and predictable foxes get hunted by wolves. Cesare Borgia understood fox strategy. He used it constantly: false alliances, deceptive negotiations, strategic lies. But in 1502, his own commanders conspired against him. They met at La Magione and formed a pact to overthrow Borgia. Borgia responded with pure fox strategy. He negotiated peace with the conspirators. He appeared conciliatory. He seemed weak. And then he invited them to Senigallia for a reconciliation conference and had them all strangled. Perfect fox execution. Except one problem. Borgia's fox strategy required his father's institutional power as pope. When Alexander VI died in 1503, Borgia lost his deception infrastructure. Suddenly, everyone knew he was the fox. Everyone expected deception. And when everyone expects deception, fox strategy stops working. The new pope, Julius II, didn't negotiate with Borgia, didn't trust any of his statements, just removed him from power immediately because there was no point in listening to a known deceiver. Fox strategy failed the moment Borgia's pattern became recognized. If you are a fox, your survival depends on knowing when to become the lion. You cannot deceive forever. Eventually, you must demonstrate actual power that exists independently of your manipulation. The most dangerous foxes are the ones who use deception to build real structural power, so that when their pattern is recognized, they can fall back on genuine capability. Machiavelli's advice for fox strategists appears in Chapter 18. A prudent lord cannot, nor ought he to, keep faith when such observance may be turned against him, and when the reasons that caused him to pledge it exist no longer. Translation: deception is essential. But deception without underlying power is just postponed failure. Use fox strategy to build lion capability, or eventually someone will refuse to play your game. If you chose Animal 2, if you instinctively gravitated toward deception, toward manipulation, toward winning through intelligence rather than strength, then comment below, "I am the fox." Claim your beast. Because understanding that you hunt through deception means you can build real power before your pattern becomes predictable. Animal 3. The wolf. If you chose the wolf, you hunt through pack coordination. You don't intimidate alone like the lion. You don't deceive like the fox. You don't strike from hiding like the serpent. You build a loyal coalition and you attack together. Your instinct when facing threats is to create alliance structures where every member protects every other member. Mutual defense, collective offense, pack loyalty enforced through shared survival. This is the strategy of institutional power, of building systems where individual capability matters less than structural coordination. Machiavelli wrote about wolf strategy throughout The Prince, but most explicitly in Chapter 9, discussing principalities established through popular support. He who obtains sovereignty by the assistance of the nobles maintains himself with more difficulty than he who comes to it by the aid of the people, because the former finds himself with many around him who consider themselves his equals, and because of this, he can neither rule nor manage them as he wishes. Translation: wolf packs require careful management. Every member must believe the pack serves their interest, or the pack fractures. But once established, wolf packs are nearly impossible to defeat from outside because attacking one member triggers collective retaliation. The Orsini family were wolves. The Orsini were one of the most powerful noble families in Renaissance Italy. They didn't rule through individual brilliance or deception. They ruled through family coordination. Every Orsini cardinal, condottiero, landowner, and banker supported every other Orsini member. Attack one Orsini, and you faced the entire family network. When Pope Alexander VI and Cesare Borgia tried to destroy the Orsini in 1503, they discovered that killing individual Orsini changed nothing. The pack structure survived individual losses. The Orsini endured. The Borgias fell. Because wolf packs outlast individual lions. In modern terms, you're the executive who builds loyal teams where everyone protects everyone. The leader who creates organizational structures where attacking you means attacking the entire department. The strategist who never operates alone because you've embedded yourself in coalition structures. You maintain power through mutual dependence. No single person can remove you without destroying the entire system that supports them. Your strength is structural resilience. Wolf strategists survive crises that destroy individual operators because pack members provide collective protection. But here's the fatal flaw Machiavelli identified in the wolf archetype. Pack loyalty requires constant maintenance. The moment pack members believe they're better served by a different pack, they switch, and they bring all your secrets with them. Pandolfo Petrucci ruled Siena through wolf strategy. He built a coalition of influential families who all depended on each other for protection and profit. For years, it worked perfectly. The pack protected Petrucci. Rivals couldn't attack him without triggering collective retaliation from the entire coalition. But in 1512, one family decided they'd benefit more from joining a different pack. They defected to Florence's alliance. Then another family followed. Then another. Within months, Petrucci's pack dissolved. He died in exile in 1512, despite decades of successful wolf strategy. Why? Because wolf packs are only as loyal as their immediate self-interest. Change the incentive structure, and the pack follows the new alpha. Modern corporations demonstrate this constantly. Entire executive teams defect to competitors. Whole departments leave together. Because wolf loyalty is to the pack structure, not to the individual leader. If you are a wolf, your survival depends on making yourself the irreplaceable center of the pack structure. You cannot simply coordinate a coalition. You must become the structural necessity that holds the coalition together. The most dangerous wolves are the ones who build packs where every member's interest requires the leader's survival, not just their participation, but their specific, irreplaceable leadership. Machiavelli's advice for wolf strategists appears in Chapter 9. But he who reaches sovereignty by popular favor finds himself alone and has none around him, or few, who are not prepared to obey him. Besides this, one cannot by fair dealing, and without injury to others, satisfy the nobles, but you can satisfy the people. Translation: wolf packs built on popular support are more stable than wolf packs built on elite coordination. The people are a larger, more resilient pack than small, noble coalitions. Build your coalition from the base, not the top. Bottom-up wolves survive. Top-down wolves fracture. If you chose Animal 3, if you instinctively gravitated toward coalition building, toward pack loyalty, toward hunting through coordinated collective action, then comment below. I am the wolf. Claim your beast. Because understanding that you hunt through packs means you can become irreplaceable before your coalition defects. Animal 4. The Serpent. If you chose the Serpent, you hunt through patient ambush. You don't intimidate like the lion. You don't adapt like the fox. You don't coordinate like the wolf. You wait. Your instinct when facing threats is to observe, position yourself strategically, and strike only when the target is isolated, vulnerable, and completely unaware. This is the strategy of perfect timing, of refusing to act until success is guaranteed, of patience as a weapon. Machiavelli didn't write explicitly about serpent strategy in The Prince because doing so would reveal his own method, but he demonstrated it throughout his career. In Chapter 3, discussing how to hold newly acquired territories, men ought either to be well treated or crushed because they can avenge themselves of lighter injuries, of more serious ones they cannot. Therefore, the injury that is to be done to a man ought to be of such a kind that one does not stand in fear of revenge. This is serpent doctrine. Wait until you can strike with complete decisiveness. Half measures create enemies. Total elimination creates silence. Cardinal Giovanni de' Medici, who became Pope Leo XI, was a serpent. When the Medici were expelled from Florence in 1494, Giovanni was only 19 years old, a cardinal, no military power, no political base, exiled with his family. For 18 years, Giovanni waited. He didn't try to retake Florence through force like a lion. He didn't manipulate politics like a fox. He didn't build obvious coalitions like a wolf. He positioned himself carefully in Rome. He cultivated relationships with other cardinals. He waited for the exact moment when papal politics aligned with Medici interests. In 1512, Spanish troops restored the Medici to Florence, not because of Giovanni's efforts, because of broader Italian political shifts. But Giovanni was ready, perfectly positioned. The moment Florence was recaptured, he became the obvious Medici representative in Rome. 1 year later, in 1513, Pope Julius II died. The College of Cardinals needed a new pope. Giovanni de' Medici had waited 19 years for this moment. He'd positioned every piece perfectly. And when the conclave voted, he was elected Pope Leo VI at age 37. Serpent strategy. Wait for the perfect moment. Strike when success is inevitable. Patience as the ultimate weapon. In modern terms, you're the executive who never makes moves until all variables are controlled. The investor who watches opportunities for months before committing. The strategist who lets enemies destroy each other while you wait for the survivor to become vulnerable. You maintain power through superior timing. While others act prematurely and fail, you wait until failure is impossible. Your strength is precision. Serpent strategists don't waste energy on uncertain conflicts. They conserve resources and strike only when the return is guaranteed. But here's the fatal flaw Machiavelli identified in the Serpent archetype. Perfect timing requires perfect information and perfect patience. The moment circumstances change faster than you can adapt, your positioning becomes irrelevant. Cesare Borgia was fundamentally a serpent, patient, strategic, willing to wait months for the perfect strike. His method with Ramiro de Orco demonstrated this perfectly. Borgia hired Ramiro to pacify the Romagna through terror. Let Ramiro do the brutal work. Waited until the region was secure and the people hated Ramiro. Then struck. Had Ramiro executed in the public square. Perfect timing, perfect positioning, total success. But in August 1503, Borgia's father, Pope Alexander VI, died unexpectedly, and Borgia himself fell sick with the same fever. All his careful positioning, all his patient strategy, all his perfect timing, irrelevant. Because serpents need time to reposition when circumstances change, and Borgia was too sick to move fast enough. His enemies struck while he was vulnerable. Within months, the man who'd conquered the Romagna through perfect serpent strategy lost everything because one variable changed too quickly. Pope Julius II became the new pope. Julius hated the Borgias, and he didn't give Cesare time to reposition. The serpent destroyed because circumstances moved faster than patient strategy could adapt. If you are a serpent, your survival depends on building contingency positions. You cannot rely on single perfect timing. You must have multiple strike positions prepared so that when primary plans fail, you have immediate alternatives. The most dangerous serpents are the ones who prepare 3 ambush points simultaneously. Primary strike, secondary strike, tertiary strike. One fails, 2 others remain ready. Machiavelli's advice for patient strategists appears in Chapter 25, discussing fortune. Fortune is the arbiter of one half of our actions, but she still leaves us to direct the other half. Translation: perfect timing is powerful, but fortune changes. Build multiple positions so that when timing fails, you have other options immediately available. Patience is a weapon. But patience without backup plans is just waiting to die. If you chose Animal 4, if you instinctively gravitated toward patient observation, toward perfect timing, toward striking only when targets are vulnerable, then comment below. I am the serpent. Claim your beast. Because understanding that you hunt through ambush means you can build contingency positions before circumstances change too quickly. The beast-predator cycle. You now know your Machiavellian beast, the lion, the fox, the wolf, the serpent. But here's what Machiavelli coded into the prince without stating directly. Every beast has a predator beast. The lion fears the serpent, ambush traps that bypass intimidation. The fox fears the wolf, pack coordination that overwhelms individual deception. The wolf fears the lion, overwhelming individual force that breaks pack structures. The serpent fears the fox, adaptive intelligence that disrupts perfect positioning. This is the strategic cycle that governs all predatory conflict. Why did Julius Caesar fall to the senators? Because he was a lion hunted by serpents, hidden conspirators who refused direct confrontation. Why did Cesare Borgia lose the Romagna? Because he was a serpent caught by fox adaptation. Pope Julius II changed the rules faster than Borgia could reposition. Why did the Orsini family survive the Borgias? Because they were wolves resisting lion attacks. Pack structure absorbed individual losses without collapsing. Why did Cosimo de' Medici rule Florence for 30 years? Because he was a fox who built wolf structures, deception that created institutional protection. Understanding your beast is step 1. Understanding your predator is step 2. Defending against it is survival. If you are the lion, your strength is intimidation through visible power. Your weakness is invisible traps you don't see until caught. Your defense: develop fox intelligence. Verify before you charge. If you are the fox, your strength is deception through adaptive intelligence. Your weakness is coordinated packs that trap you collectively. Your defense: build wolf alliances. Never hunt completely alone. If you are the wolf, your strength is pack coordination through mutual dependence. Your weakness is overwhelming individual force that breaks structure. Your defense: include lions in your pack. Build individual capability alongside collective action. If you are the serpent, your strength is perfect timing through patient positioning. Your weakness is adaptive enemies who change faster than you reposition. Your defense: build multiple ambush points. Never rely on single perfect timing. Machiavelli watched every beast fall throughout his career. He documented lions destroyed by hidden conspiracies. He analyzed foxes trapped by coordinated coalitions. He studied wolves broken by superior individual commanders. He observed serpents caught when circumstances changed too quickly. Every beast has a predator. Every hunting strategy has a counter-strategy. The question is, are you defending against your predator before it strikes? The final challenge. Comment your beast one more time. I am the lion. I am the fox. I am the wolf. I am the serpent. Claim your beast. Because this isn't a personality quiz. This is a predator diagnostic. Machiavelli wrote The Prince to teach rulers how to survive in environments where every other predator wants to hunt them. I'm decoding his beast system to teach you the same survival strategy. Like this video and subscribe to this channel. Because in the next video, I'm revealing the master technique Machiavelli used personally. How to shift between all 4 beasts without losing your core identity. The lion-fox hybrid that intimidates while deceiving. The wolf-serpent combination that coordinates packs while positioning ambushes. The fluid beast mastery that let some Renaissance leaders survive every predator while others fell to the first hunter. Machiavelli didn't just study beasts. He became the shapeshifter. And in the next video, I'll show you how to hunt like every animal depending on which predator is hunting you. Until then, study your beast. Identify your predator. And remember, in the game of power, the animal you are determines whether you hunt successfully or become prey. A prince must know how to use both the nature of the beast and that of man. Choose your nature carefully, because every predator in your environment is choosing theirs right now. I'll see you in the next revelation.